1. Hey all, so this story involves a railway and the collective agreement that we railroaders operate under. I'll try to simplify it since some terms are industry specific. This happened a few years ago. My crew and I were called to work on a train leaving east from the port. While doing our paperwork at the start of the day, I noticed through our live train tracking system that a westbound train was about 30 minutes travel time out from the yard, but only had 1 hour left on their federal hours of service, which absolutely cannot be exceeded. They also had 12,000 feet of traffic to yard, which alone takes 1 or 2 hours to complete. As soon as I realized this, I called the local manager. Now, I had 13 years seniority at that point. My manager had spent 6 months as a trainee railroader before switching to management. Total seniority, maybe 1 year. I suggested that he swing us to a rescue ticket in the payroll system, and we would go out immediately and help that train. Normally, this would entitle us to 2 hours off-duty spacing between tickets, and up to 8 hours rest if we wanted it. But we offered to decline that to help the other crew. He immediately declined and confidently explained that the crew was just fine, and they would be setting half their train out en route at a storage track. That move takes even longer than yarding in the port, due to track clearances and stuff needed to allow the moves, so I just shrugged, hung up the phone, and continued with my paperwork. It turned out that even if they had time on their clock, the track had unreported cars in it, so the local manager frantically tells me to make a run for the port. During this time, we had gone out and started working on building our own train. We talked to the inbound crew and agreed to help them land the first cut of cars and secure their tailed cut before their federal 12th required by law. So there we sat. The inbound crew landed half their train before houring out, and left 6,000 feet of train blocking the only piece of rail in or out of the entire port terminal. The local manager then calls us on the radio, and the conversation went like this. "Hello, crew? I need you to go down and pull that second cut in to clear the rail." "Okay, and then we taxi home." No, you get back on your own train." "No, we only handle 1 train per ticket, and this terminates at our home terminal. So if we handle their train, we taxi home on pay. You could cancel us and put us on a rescue turn ticket like we originally suggested, but if we do it on this ticket, we go home." "Okay, you're cancelled and called on a turn." "So you're saying we're cancelled?" "Yes." "Okay, since we're cancelled after working, we're all taking 8 hours rest, and we are the only crew in the terminal to do this work." "Wait, what? So, are we cancelled, or is there a taxi coming after we yard that train?" "Yard the damn train!" The funny thing is, it was a beautiful summer day. If he had just taken my suggestion, we would have yarded their train and jumped back on ours, making 2 tickets worth of pay, but saving the railroad a lot of headache. Instead, we yarded half a train, and got paid to play in our phones in a 4.5-hour taxi ride, for the same rate of pay as we would have gotten on the 10-hour train trip home. 2. A few years ago, I was paired up with this girl in my class for an English presentation. I honestly can't remember what it was about. I didn't know her well, and at first, she seemed kind of chill, so I invited her to my house to work on the project. When we took a break from working and talking about things outside of the project, she told me how I was pretty cool and chill when she got to know me. I felt the same way and almost considered becoming friends with her. Then she said that she assumed I wasn't this chill because of the friends I had. When I asked her what she meant, she asked me why I hung out with the people I did because they were kind of losers, and suggested I should find better people. And that stung. To give you an idea, she was hanging more with the popular kids in the school, not sure where she stood in terms of being popular or being real friends with them, and I kind of just existed everywhere. I wasn't popular, but I wasn't really nerdy either, so I had different groups of friends. But my friends were really chill and good people, and they were there for me a lot. After she said that, I didn't want her in my house, so I cut the project work short and said we can split the work and work individually. I just wanted her gone. Now, this project was a fairly big chunk of our grade, and because this was a partner assignment, we were told we were getting marked together for presenting. So I couldn't let her jeopardize my grade, so I did 95% of the work by the end of the project, but didn't send her the finished presentation until the morning before our class started. Now on to the real pettiness. The day of the presentation arrived and our professor said both partners will have to present, but we now had the option of choosing to get marked individually or together, as opposed to the previous only marked together option. Now, because I had done 95% of the presentation, it also meant only I knew the majority of the content and she didn't. So right before it was our turn to present, I went up to the professor and told her how I wanted to be marked separately from my partner because I did 95% of the work. My professor understood and agreed. But I didn't tell my partner this info, so she assumed that we would get marked the same. I equally divided the presentation with her, even on the part she had no idea how to explain, and we presented. And she fumbled so bad. Later that day, we got our marks, and I remember getting a 90% while seeing that she got something in the 60s range. I never told her my grade, but she never talked to me again. 3. This was back in high school, circa 2017 to 2018. I had an IT specialty class. There were like 8 people. Great fun, great teacher, good introduction to programming with the Python language. Really good. At the end of the year, we had an exam project. We chose or propose a project in duo with someone. We do it, and we do an individual presentation, following what works, what doesn't, what problems did we overcome, and so on. I was with the only girl in the class, lucky me, and we decided to make a chess game with command line display. It actually works, but wonky. We nailed, with the help of the teacher, how to properly display the field. And then comes the first vacation. I heard nothing from her. Absolute silence. So I did a bit of work, and the day before school starts again, she texted me something like, "Oh, sorry, I had a loss of internet." Excuse. But she gave me a bit of work she did, really small, but still, so I let it slide. Back into class. She never did anything. And she never brought her stuff, always the excuse of, "Sorry, I forgot the USB," then, "Oh, sorry, I took the wrong USB," then, "Oh, sorry, I forgot part of my stuff this morning, and the good USB key was in there. Next time, for sure," and so on. I realized that it was suspicious since she did next to nothing in class and talked to my teacher about it. He'd noticed that himself and told me that I should continue the project and he would not punish my grade in the teamwork section. So, cue PettyRevenge. I had a plan. The current version was next to unplayable, nothing really works, the big bugs are present. Then the second vacation comes along, 1 week. I decided to heavily work on it, correct as many bugs as possible, to the point that at the end it was actually playable, although some complicated stuff was still in need of correction. But I was too much of a beginner and didn't have enough time, so it got left. Her and I texted through Facebook. During the entirety of the vacation, her account was online. I sent her multiple times, "Hey, have you solved this and that?" I saw that she'd read them, but never answered. So I never sent her my playable version, and I was plotting for the presentation. Presentation day came, and as I said, it's individual with the teacher, so she wasn't there. I go first because of the alphabet. Everything went fine. The teacher was actually impressed. At the end of the presentation I said this: "The most important thing I learned in this project is how teamwork is. As you know, she did next to nothing about the code, and the previous vacation, still. Unfortunately, all the small bugs still present in the program could have been corrected if I had a working teammate." The teacher said nothing, just gave me the thumbs up for my work, but I knew in his face that he knew too. So I got out of the room, and it's her turn. I've heard that she was crying after getting out of the room. Since then, every time we cross paths in the school, she gave me a small but visible hate look. I can tell you she was pissed. The grade she got was 9 out of 20, I got 14 out of 20. I never contacted her again, so no love story for me. and good riddance. 4. My horrendously toxic relationship is ending soon. I'm only playing nice for now because he owes me a lot of money, and I have the tiniest sliver of hope I might recoup some of it. We've been in an open relationship for over a year. We had this arrangement from the beginning due to both having high sex drives, and his former job required a lot of travel. It worked nicely for a long while. We both went through a period of severe stress, and I found out during this time that he was on Tinder and Grindr. He claims it was just to jerk off since her sex life slowed down. I knew that was a lie, but I accepted it and reiterated our only 2 rules for that behavior. We informed each other of outside activities, and 2, we used protection during those encounters. He has not stopped looking, and I found evidence of it being physical numerous times since. Still breaking 1 rule and probably also 2. Why lie? It's so very disrespectful and puts my health at risk. He's really shitty at hiding it, and I admit to snooping. I have his location, and he's constantly out in the middle of the night. Tinder notifications popping up, photos of a sexual nature, conversations outside of the apps, and the final straw was his Venmo, where he clearly paid 2 individuals for sex. Bonus photos of his asshole that one of them took. He's mentally destroyed me with this, and a whole host of other despicable behavior. Now, I'm without my savings and getting evicted. I have to move into my mother's house at 36 years old, because I fell for his lies and believed in the plans we made for our future. So when asshole went to sleep last week while I was there to pick up his dog that we were co-parenting, I went snooping again. He's banned from Grindr, but not Tinder, so I changed his profile bio to I have AIDS. I wanted to be more creative, but he's always joking about AIDS, and I have never once found it funny. I have a dark sense of humor, so it's not because it's offensive, but because it's actually not funny. I then changed his age settings from 18 to 55 to 50 to 55, and swiped right on everyone until his likes ran out. I've been mostly nice since then because of the pup, and I'm just enjoying the last times I get to spend with him. He told me last night that he's turning his Tinder notifications off, which he thought made him look like he's reformed, but I saw him at his friend's house in the middle of the night after that, and I know he was sucking him off or getting fucked. This made me laugh on the inside because he's unaware of the changes I made. As soon as I'm gone for good, he will either find them or hopefully get banned. Good luck hooking up with strangers now, asshole. Yes, I was toxic too. I don't regret it. He turned me into a vindictive human with unnecessary bullshit, and I'm looking forward to my true revenge, which is living my best life and never giving a shit about his lying ass ever again. Thank you for listening. 5. So the time was junior high school. Must have been about 1967. I didn't always follow the dress code. I usually forgot the belt I was supposed to wear with my jeans. In homeroom, the teacher often checked for violations such as this. I tried to remember, but at that age I could hardly remember to bring my lunch money, so this was kind of normal for me. After 3 days of forgetting to wear a belt, I was sent to the principal's office. I thought it an odd event for such a trivial transgression. The principal had me wait for half an hour in the hallway outside of his office on a bench. Then he finally saw me and gave me a stern lecture as to why it was so important to wear a belt, and that I would really be in trouble if I didn't wear it. I never bought into his logic of why this was so important, but said I would try to remember. Next day I forgot again. Homeroom teacher sent me to the principal. And I waited half an hour more to see him again. I thought this was great, screw up and get out of at least half of your next class. Not much incentive to toe the line. He brought me in and asked what I had to say for myself. I told him I just forgot. So to make an example of me, he took a rope out of his desk and tied it around my waist through my belt loops, with the ends hanging down. I thought to myself, finally a solution to this nagging problem. So after school, I got on my bicycle and I rode home, and got out this huge roll of hemp rope my dad had in the garage and a pair of scissors. I cut off 5 lengths of rope from which I could form a belt. One for each day of the week, I thought. Then, before I could forget, rode my bike back to school and put them in my locker. Next day, of course, I forgot my belt, but I was excited because I had remembered how to resolve the problem the day before and had the solution in my locker. So I got to school, went to my locker, pulled out a rope, and fashioned it through my belt loops and tied it. Went to homeroom, and got sent to the principal again. Now confused, after nearly an hour, both my parents show up, and we all go into the principal's office. There, my parents were told of what a horrible student I was for not wearing a proper belt. My dad asked why I wasn't wearing a proper belt, so I told him how the principal had me wear a rope one the other day. The principal chimes in. "A rope is an inappropriate replacement for a proper belt." I said, "You're the principal. You put the rope on me. How is it possible for it to be inappropriate if the principal has me wear it? If it's good enough for the principal to put it on me, it must be okay. A principal would never force a student to wear anything inappropriate, would they?" And I just glared back at him. Just silence for a full minute. My dad measured the logic and just burst out laughing. Then somewhere in the conversation after that, it was let out that the principal purposely left me out in the hallway in an attempt to shame me into compliance. Supposedly, sitting on that bench in the hallway, where all the passerbys would see one in trouble, was supposed to elicit feelings of deep regret and shame. I told them I found it a great treat, in that I didn't have to go to class and just sat and told myself jokes for 3 to 3/4 of an hour. I was never any kind of troublemaker, really, but I just never got caught up in what I thought was trivial. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 318. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do poke the like button and share the video with friends and family. And if you'd like early access to the videos, then you can support me through my Patreon, which is linked in the description. It's also up on the screen right now. I should make that clickable, but it's not clickable yet. You'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer Teespring merchandise store in the description there, and you can make donations during streams and videos like this one if you'd like to. You don't have to, but I do appreciate it, and it's helping me out a lot. Right, there's no other business, I don't think, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, what is it that you look forward to most about this time of year? For me, you'd think it was Christmas, but as I've mentioned before, I don't really do Christmas much anymore. I've just kind of gradually lost interest. I don't think I'll even bother with the Christmas dinner this year. Just doesn't really seem worth the effort anymore. But the thing that has got me excited this year is, I think it's next week, it's the end of November, I'm fairly sure, is there'll be new episodes of Doctor Who, which to I hate to confess this, but a bit of a nerd like me, that's very exciting news. Especially seeing David Tennant return, who I always liked Tennant as a Doctor. Certainly not my favourite, but I've always liked him. So having had a few years of a break from him, it's nice to see him return, albeit for a little while, before Shitagadwa takes over the role permanently. And I think he's going to do a good job as well, from what I've seen of him. Seems like a good actor, and very enthusiastic about the role. So that's what gets me excited about this time of year. We're going to have 3 episodes of Doctor Who, and then I believe we also have a Christmas special. So that's enough to keep me happy on the cold, winter, Christmassy nights. So how about you? Are you one of those folks that likes to go all out for the holiday season? You like to put up lights, have those a lot of folks in this area have them. It's kind of like an inflatable Santa. Like there's a machine, like a wind machine underneath it, I think, like blowing it up. They've got them at Halloween when it's like, there's various like spooky things and skeletons and ghosts and such. And then you've got Santas and snowmen come Christmas. Fair enough, if it makes you happy. There's also those projectors that are quite popular too. And they look kind of cool, I have to admit. I don't think I'd ever go to the trouble of doing it myself, but they look kind of cool. Or do you like to keep it kind of low-key, or is there something else entirely about this time of year that excites you? Because not everybody celebrates the holiday season. Why don't you let me know what you think in a comment below? And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.